Hello there guys, Freemare here. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to make Western Pleasure Romel Reins. They are different than normal reins, which would be something like this. It's a solid piece. Generally, this is usually a little tighter than the Romel Reins because the Romel Reins are weighted on the part that connects to the bit. So when this is hanging down on the horse's face, he can feel the weight, and so it acts as kind of like a balancing act to keep his head in position compared to something like this. So I'm going to show you guys how to make some of these Romel Reins. They come in many different colors, many different styles. Especially if you go online and look up Western Pleasure Romel Reins, you'll get an idea of some patterns. So the supplies you're going to need is, you're going to need an assortment of beads. These beads are from anywhere from crimp beads to just regular cylinder beads. Lots of different just styles of beads. I've got some black, silver, copper, cylinder beads. Like these are crimp beads. I've got two different widths of crimp beads. And then you're also going to need some leather cord, round lace. I can pick this up from my fabric store, craft store. They're about $3 a piece, give or take. And they do come in different thicknesses. I believe this one was 2 point something, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember anymore. But you want to make sure that the beads are slightly bigger than this cord that you get, because of course they won't fit if they're too small. Then you're also going to need a cylinder bead that's larger, a crimp bead that's larger than the bead that you're going to put on here. The reason being is that that's the bead that we're going to use for this part here. Okay, so this is the part that attaches to basically two parts of the reins here. So, okay, so to give you guys a couple examples, this is a classic, a little shorter. If you're wondering what the noise is in the background, I'm watching the Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show, like always. But anyways, this is one style. You can see there's kind of some circular flowered beads in there. Generally, this is not as popular as some other Romel Reins. Then we have these here, which have these super nice kind of, I don't know what the heck they are. They're just little cylinder beads. And then there's some copper beads and silver beads. So, you're also going to need some super glue. Really, really thin piece of leather. If you compare the thickness, this piece of leather here is considered a 9 on gram scale. So if you compare these two here, you can see that they're really much thinner. So this is, I believe, 1 ounce. You're also going to need scissors, a pair of pliers, and a model. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to determine how far you need for your Romel Reins. So let me scoop this out of the way here, guys. Okay. Right. So I'm going to just lightly loop this over this guy's neck because he doesn't have a bridle on, but actually, I could probably just do this. No, that probably won't. Okay, so if I were to hold these up, let's just take rid of that because that's just stupid. Okay, let me put him down on his side so you can see him better. Okay, so if I were to hold him up like this, you could see that if this were to connect here and this was to droop down, the rider's hand would be up here. So this is generally about the right place that this should be. Then, of course, it's going to vary on how long you want them. The Arab reins are generally a little bit shorter for the Romel rein department. So you're going to have to determine how far it needs to be. Look at some Western pleasure pictures to determine that. But generally what I do is I go about, with this mold here, I generally go about right here, give or take, that I want the reins to droop. So you don't want them tight like an English pleasure horse, so you don't want, you know, something like this to go from his mouth to the hands. You want a nice droop in there because when the rider comes up here, his hand goes up here and he's holding the reins up here. And I've shown in Western pleasure classes before, and so it's quite fun, but this is some more styles. So basically what you do is you need to take your cord like this, and you're going to cut a single piece of lace or round cord. So this here. So I'm going to measure this out because I use the standard, so let me just do this quickly here. Okay. So when you do that and you cut your leather lace, your round cord, you're going to have one solid piece. And you're not going to cut this thing in two, okay? Do not do that. It's bad. Do not cut in two. It's going to be a solid piece of leather lace, which is like this, and then you're going to fold it in half. Okay? So when you get the distance from the horse's mouth to the rider's hands, you're going to leave a little bit more room on the top, fold it over, and measure out the distance on the other side. So it's one giant piece folded in half. Okay? And I forgot to mention, you're also going to need some of these clasps. I forgot what the heck they're called, but they are basically little clasps with a hook on the end. Okay? So when you got this, you are then going to take your scissors or an X-Acto knife, whatever you may need, and you're going to cut this top part to thin it down. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's easier to get it into the little hole. Okay? So you got your clasp, your leather lace, and you're going to stick this through that hole like this. See? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your glue and you're going to put a dab in there. And then you're going to take your pliers and you're going to, you're going to close this up. So you have something that looks like this. Okay, now you're going to want to let this dry before you do anything else because it is known for pulling out. So let that dry and we will continue on the next part of the video.